Okay, so you're thinking about becoming a consultant.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like everyone's talking about it these days, right?
Right. Like ditch the 9 to 5. Be your own boss, work from anywhere.
Exactly. But we're here to take a deep dive into what it really takes.
Yeah, let's get past all the hype and look at the reality.
And you've got some great research to help us do that.
Yeah, we're diving into deciding to become a consultant,
A guide that gets real about the world of consulting.
especially in the field of monitoring and evaluation.
Yeah, I meant M&E for sure.
M&E. Okay, so is that like a music festival or something?
Not quite, though that does sound like a fun deep dive for another day.
Uh-huh. Right.
In this context, M&E stands for monitoring and evaluation.
Okay.
And it's a huge area in the consulting world.
So tell me more about it. What's it all about?
It's basically about making sure that projects actually achieve what they set out to do.
I see. So like keeping things on track, making sure everything works as intended.
Exactly. Especially in fields like development and humanitarian work.
Makes sense. So like holding people accountable for results.
And get this guide reveals that a significant chunk of project budgets,
Oh, wow, really?
yeah, sometimes between 2.5% and 10%, is dedicated to M&E.
That's a lot. No wonder there's so much demand for consultants in that area.
Precisely. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of M&E consulting,
Okay.
let's define what we mean by consulting itself.
Yeah, good point. It's
Good.
more than just a buzzword, right?
Exactly.
So what is consulting in a nutshell?
Think of it like this. You're providing expert advice and solutions
Okay.
to organizations or individuals who are facing specific challenges.
So it's like problem solving.
Yes, but with a strategic, analytical, and often highly specialized approach.
So you're not just giving them the answers. You're helping them figure out how to actually solve the problem.
Exactly. And that's where the why behind consulting comes into play.
Right. Like why would someone choose this path?
Exactly. Why do people choose this path? What motivates them?
It's got to be more than just wanting to be your own boss, right?
Right. There are tons of reasons, but this guide points out that everyone's why is unique.
So if you're thinking about becoming a consultant, think about that.
Yes. What resonates most with you about this career path?
What are your driving factors?
It's crucial to be honest with yourself about your motivations.
Absolutely. It's a big decision.
This isn't something to be taken lightly.
There are definitely trade-offs to consider,
Both positive and challenging.
which this guide doesn't shy away from,
No, they get right into the pros and cons of consulting.
which I appreciate.
Honesty is key.
Yeah.
We need to dispel those myths.
Right. Let's get real about what it takes. So
Exactly.
let's unpack those pros and cons a bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Starting with the good stuff, this guide talks about flexibility
Of course.
and potentially higher income.
Yeah, those are definitely appealing factors.
Right. Who wouldn't want more flexibility and more money?
Exactly. But remember that flexibility often comes at the expense of stability.
That's a good point. It's a trade-off.
As a consultant, you're essentially running your own business,
Right. You're your own boss.
which means you're responsible for everything.
Like what kind of things?
Finding clients, managing your finances.
Right. No more steady paychecks
Exactly.
or company-sponsored health insurance.
That's a big one to consider.
Yeah, that's huge.
Which is why it's absolutely crucial to have a solid financial plan in place before taking the leap.
So don't just quit your job without a plan.
Definitely not.
Think about things like building a safety net,
Yes. Understanding your expenses.
having a clear idea of your income goals.
Those are all essential.
Okay, so the guide also mentions something called the feast or famine cycle.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
It's a common experience for many consultants, especially when starting out.
Okay.
You might have periods of high demand and lots of projects,
Okay.
followed by quieter periods with less work.
So it's like a roller coaster.
It can be. And it requires careful planning and business development to smooth out those peaks and troughs.
I bet. So you're not just riding the wave, you're trying to create a more consistent flow.
Exactly. Diversifying your client base, building strong relationships,
Makes sense.
and always having a pipeline of potential projects.
So you're always looking ahead.
Exactly. That's all part of navigating that cycle successfully.
Which brings us back to finding your niche,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you were saying earlier about the high demand for M&E consultants.
Right.
Seems like that's a prime example of a niche that's really valuable these days.
It is. It's all about figuring out
Yeah,
what you're really good at
right.
and how those skills translate to the consulting world.
Finding your superpower.
Exactly. What sets you apart?
Okay, so this guide lays out 8 steps to becoming a consultant.
8-step.
A roadmap of sorts.
Okay.
8 steps feels manageable.
Yeah, that's not too overwhelming.
Right.
As long as you're approaching each step thoughtfully and strategically.
Exactly. Which is where we come in.
That's right. We're here to break it down.
All right, so step one is all about having a clear exit strategy,
Okay.
a solid transition plan.
So important.
It sounds like this guide really wants you to be prepared.
They do. It's not about just jumping ship without a life raft.
Definitely not. You don't want to burn any bridges.
Exactly. Whether you're transitioning from a full-time job or just dipping your toes into part-time consulting,
Right.
you need a plan.
Makes sense.
The guide even talks about the importance of leaving your current job on good terms.
Especially if you think you might want to collaborate with them down the road.
Exactly. You never know.
Okay, so step two focuses on zeroing in on your skills.
Right. Like really figuring out what you're good at
Look,
and how those skills translate to the consulting world.
this is where that niche expertise comes in again.
Exactly. What are you really good at? What problems can you solve better than anyone else?
And it's not just about the technical skills, right?
Right. This guide actually emphasizes how important those soft skills are too.
Yeah, like what?
Being a good communicator, being adaptable,
Right.
knowing how to solve problems.
Right, so it's not enough to just be an expert.
No, you have to be able to work with people too.
You have to be able to communicate your ideas effectively and build relationships.
Exactly.
So it's like having the whole package.
Exactly. The technical know-how and the people skills,
Okay, so that leads into step three,
which is,
getting crystal clear about your ideal client.
yes, who do you actually want to work with?
Right, because not all clients are created equal.
Exactly. What kind of organizations or projects get you really fired up?
I love that. So
Yeah.
you're not just taking on any client who comes your way. You're being intentional.
Exactly.
And I've heard that creating an ideal client avatar can be really helpful for this.
It is. It helps you to really understand your target audience.
So you can tailor your message and your services accordingly.
Exactly.
Okay, and then step four is all about building your brand identity,
Ah, yes, your brand.
which is huge these days, right?
Huge, especially online.
Having a killer website,
It's essential.
a strong LinkedIn profile.
Your digital storefront.
Right.
It's how potential clients are going to find you.
It's your first impression.
Exactly. So you want to make it count.
So in the world of M&E consulting, this guide says that referrals are the absolute best way to get clients.
Referrals are gold in any industry, but in consulting,
Yeah.
they're even more valuable.
Why is that?
Because when someone you trust recommends you,
Right.
it comes with instant credibility.
It's like a shortcut to building trust.
Exactly.
So how do you go about getting those golden referrals?
Networking, of course.
Okay.
But it's not just about going to events and handing out business cards. It's
Right.
about building genuine relationships,
Okay.
staying on people's radar,
Right.
and consistently delivering work that makes them want to recommend you.
So exceeding expectations.
Exactly. You want people to be so impressed with your work that they can't help but tell everyone they know.
Love it. Okay, so step five is all about developing a marketing strategy
Okay?
and a sales plan.
Right.
This is where things get strategic.
Yes, you have to figure out how to reach your ideal client.
Right.
Craft a message that resonates with them.
So it's not just about putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
You have to be smart about it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it often involves a mix of approaches.
Like what?
Online marketing,
Okay.
creating valuable content,
Yeah.
networking,
Right.
and even some good old-fashioned cold outreach.
So you've got to hustle,
Hmm?
but you got to do it strategically.
Exactly. No throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Right. You need a system
A process.
for generating leads, nurturing those leads, and turning them into clients.
Exactly.
Something we could definitely dive into deeper another time.
Another time.
But for now, let's move on to step six,
Okay.
which I think might be a sticking point for a lot of aspiring consultants.
Which is?
Figuring out your consulting service model
Okay.
and your rates.
Ah, yes, the money question.
I mean, putting a price tag on your skills and experience,
Yeah, it can feel weird.
it's like, am I charging enough?
Right.
Am I charging too much?
Exactly. And that's where this guide comes in.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of research.
So like checking out the competition.
Exactly. See what other consultants are charging.
Okay.
What are your expenses? What are your income goals?
Right. Because you've got to factor in all those costs.
Exactly. Taxes, insurance, software subscriptions.
Right. All that stuff adds up.
It does. And then you have to think about your pricing model.
Okay. So like hourly rates, project-based, value-based.
Exactly. Which one makes the most sense for your services?
And for your ideal clients.
Right. You have to find that side spot.
Where you're being compensated fairly. But also making it work for your clients.
And don't forget about the value you bring to the table.
That's right. You're not just selling your time.
Exactly. You're selling your expertise, your problem-solving skills, your unique perspective.
Love that. Okay, so once you've figured out your rates,
Then comes the fun part,
which is
negotiation.
step 7, the art of the deal.
Exactly. You have to be your own advocate.
Right, make sure you're getting a fair contract.
And this guide actually has a really helpful checklist of questions to ask.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before and during those contract negotiations.
Like what kind of things?
Everything. Payment terms, deadlines, scope of work,
Okay.
even who's responsible for what expenses.
So it's like a cheat sheet for those sometimes awkward conversations.
Exactly. It helps you to feel more confident and prepared.
Because once you sign on that dotted line,
You're locked in.
exactly, you want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
100%.
Okay, so finally we're at step 8.
The final step.
And this one feels particularly important.
Especially for new consultants, which
For s-
is getting support.
Finding your people.
Exactly. Because going solo can be tough.
It can be isolating,
And this guide really emphasizes the importance of coaching and mentorship.
like having someone to guide you.
Exactly. Someone who's been there, done that, and can offer advice, encouragement, and maybe even a little tough love when you need it.
Because, let's be real, we all need a little support sometimes.
We do. Whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for years.
Having that network can make all the difference.
It can.
Wow, this has been an amazing deep dive.
It has.
We covered so much ground.
From what consulting really is to the nitty-gritty of getting started.
I feel like we've given our listeners a lot to think about,
I hope so.
and hopefully some practical tools and strategies to help them on their journey.
That's the goal.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
This guide talks about the importance of having a sustainable competitive advantage.
Right.
What makes you stand out from the crowd?
Good question.
What unique skills, experiences, or perspectives do you bring to the table?
So what's your superpower?
Exactly. That's something to ponder as you continue exploring the world of consulting.
And who knows, maybe we'll see you out there.
On the consulting battlefield.
Exactly. Armed with your skills, your network, and your unique value proposition.
Ready to take on the world one consulting project at a time.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure being here.